I watched it unfold from the lobby's far corner, marble floors glowing under chandelier light, jazz humming gently through the air, the front desk lined in polished brass. A scene so serene it could have been a postcard. But what broke through the illusion was her voice, sharp, cutting. We don't have rooms for people like you. I wasn't supposed to be there. At least not like that. No staff announcement, no grand arrival, just me, Ethan Moore, backpack over my shoulder, a hoodie hiding the half of me the world usually sees in press releases. I'd built this chain from the ground up. Started as a bellhop, became the youngest regional director in our corporation's history. Now, I was touring anonymously. No schedule, no alerts. Just eyes and ears, watching what my empire had become without my name hanging overhead. That morning, the Bronx branch had looked like every high-end hotel in our network, minimalist, chic, velvet seating, digital check-in booths for tech-savvy travelers. I grabbed a coffee across the street, crossed over, and slipped inside just as another family did, a black couple with a young daughter. Maybe 5 or 6. She held a bright pink backpack and a teddy bear wearing a tiny graduation cap. Her parents smiled as they approached the counter. Something shifted then. I saw it. The receptionist's smile dropped like a mask at midnight. She didn't look them in the eye, didn't greet them, just tapped her screen like it owed her money. "We have a reservation," the father said, holding out his phone. "I need ID and credit card," she snapped. He handed both over, still smiling. She looked at the card, then back at him. "Do you have another one? That one should work," he said, voice calm. "Well, it's not," she muttered, jabbing the keys harder. "Looks like the payment didn't go through. There's nothing I can do." I shifted on my feet. This was already wrong. The father leaned in slightly, still composed. "It's prepaid. I got the confirmation this morning." "Sir," she said, voice tightening. "You can't argue with the system." "Can I speak to someone else?" the wife asked, stepping forward. "No," the receptionist said quickly, eyes darting around. "You're disrupting other guests." There were no other guests, just me. A guy in sweats sipping a hotel latte like he didn't own half the building. "I'm not trying to cause trouble," the father said. "Then please leave," she replied flatly. And then she did it. She pressed a button beneath the counter, silent but unmistakable. She was calling security. My hands gripped the coffee cup tighter. Heat pushing through the cardboard. I felt the flush rise in my neck. Not because of her, because of me. Because I hadn't said a damn word yet. The little girl clutched her teddy bear tighter, her eyes wide, confused. Her father placed a hand on her back, protective, calming. And that's when I walked forward. Not fast, not angry, just with purpose. "Is there a problem?" I asked, voice low but sharp enough to cut glass. The receptionist turned toward me like I'd broken a spell. "This doesn't concern you, sir." "Ashu." "Actually," I said, "it does." She blinked. The father looked over, wary but grateful. The wife held her daughter close, whispering something into her hair. "I saw them check in. They've got a valid reservation." I said. "You don't work here," she snapped. "You have no authority." "I don't need to work here to recognize when someone's being mistreated." Her face curled into a sneer. "Look, sir, this isn't your business. Please step aside." But I didn't move, and neither did she. Instead, security arrived, 2 men in black suits, earpieces tucked like shadows in their collars. The receptionist didn't even pause. "They're causing a disturbance. Please escort them out." The taller guard hesitated, his eyes flicking between her and the family. "They've got a reservation?" I said louder now. "Paid, confirmed." The other guard turned slightly toward me. "And you are?" I smiled, but not the friendly kind. "The guy who built the app you use to scan keycards." He blinked. I let the words sit there. Heavy, real. I didn't show them a badge. Didn't need to. I turned to the father. "Sub, I believe your reservation was for the executive suite." He nodded slowly, caught somewhere between confusion and awe. Excellent. I said, let me personally walk you up. The receptionist sputtered. Wait, what? Who are you? I turned back to her slowly. That's the wrong question. I said, her eyes narrowed. Excuse me. The right question, I continued, is who you have just tried to humiliate in front of their child. The lobby fell into silence, except for the quiet sniffle of the little girl. I crouched to her level and pulled a small toy from the complimentary welcome basket on the desk, a plush giraffe in hotel uniform. I handed it to her. You're very brave, I said softly. She smiled, just barely. The family followed me to the elevator as the guards watched, still unsure whether they'd just been part of a prank or a plot twist. But I knew what it was. It was the real test. And she failed, spectacularly. The elevator doors whispered shut behind us, sealing in a strange quiet. Marcus stood tall, but I saw the tension in his jaw, the strain of holding back 1,000 emotions. His wife kept one arm around their daughter, eyes darting toward the floor number display, as if hoping it would hurry. I didn't speak at first. Let the moment breathe. Let them feel what they needed to feel. I'm sorry you had to go through that, I finally said, my voice low. Marcus glanced over, not with anger, but with a tired sort of understanding. We're used to it. That phrase, 3 words, and each one cut deeper than the last. Used to it, used to the cold shoulders, the fake glitches, the quiet refusals hidden behind policy and fake smiles. And I hated that the world made him carry that weight with such practiced ease. No one should be, I replied. We reached the top floor. The executive suite sat at the end of a hushed hallway, its double doors wide and polished. I unlocked it with my master pass. The room opened into a breathtaking view of the city skyscrapers gleaming, the Bronx skyline stretching beneath a sky about to kiss dusk. This is incredible, the wife whispered. I watched their daughter walk slowly toward the window, her teddy bear tucked under her arm. For the first time, she looked like a child again, just a little girl on a family trip, not someone who'd just witnessed the ugly underbelly of adult prejudice. I hope it makes up for a small part of today, I said. Marcus looked at me, searching. Who are you, really? I took a breath. Ethan Moore. His eyebrows lifted. I started with this company as a bellhop, 18 years old. I worked the overnight shift, cleaned rooms, delivered food. I saw everything. The good, the bad. That lobby downstairs, it was supposed to be the kind of place where anyone could feel like royalty, no matter what they looked like. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The silence held something stronger than thanks. I'm sorry, I said again. Not just for what she did, but for the fact that you weren't even surprised. His wife walked over and placed a gentle hand on my arm. Thank you for stepping in. I couldn't stay quiet, I said. Not when I knew exactly what was happening. They settled in, and I promised to have dinner sent up. Their charges waived. Anything they wanted. But even as I left the suite and the door clicked behind me, my mind stayed with them. The shame wasn't just hers, the receptionist's. It was mine too. Because somewhere along the way, this hotel had become a place where that kind of ugliness could fester. And no one stopped it until today. I walked back down using the service elevator. Not because I wanted to sneak around, but because I needed space. Needed the silence of humming fluorescent lights and the metallic groan of old cables to figure out my next step. At the back office, the receptionist was waiting. She must have realized who I was, or maybe someone told her. Either way, she was pale and fidgeting, her eyes wide as I entered. I didn't know, she stammered. I didn't know he was with what, I interrupted. With someone important, she finished. I stared at her for a long moment. You still don't get it. She tried to backpedal. I didn't mean anything by it. I thought the card had failed. You saw the name? You saw the confirmation? You had every reason to check them in. She shook her head. Sometimes people try to scam the system. That wasn't what this was. She looked down. You made a choice. I said, not based on data and not based on policy. Based on a prejudice you might not even realize you carry. I'm not racist, she whispered. I didn't say you were. I said your actions were. She started crying then. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe fear for her job. Maybe both. But I didn't offer comfort. Not this time. I'm placing you on indefinite suspension. I said, we'll review the footage, and I'll be sitting in on the review myself. She didn't argue. She knew. I walked past her and out the side door, into the alley behind the hotel. The air hit cold on my face. The city moved round me, uncaring. A siren echoed in the distance. Somewhere, someone was laughing. Life, indifferent to the stories unfolding within its borders. I pulled out my phone, opened the company app, drafted a memo to HR, but I didn't just write about her. I wrote about us, about how we needed better training, about how we needed anonymous reporting lines, about how we needed real consequences and real protections. Because today it was Marcus and his daughter. Tomorrow, it could be someone else. Someone without a stranger watching quietly from the corner. And I wasn't going to let that happen again. I didn't go back to my hotel room that night. I walked the streets instead. Hoodie pulled up, hands buried deep in my jacket pockets as the chill of early spring slid through New York's veins. The Bronx always hummed after sunset horns in the distance. Kids laughing down side streets. Corner bodegas blasting old-school hip-hop like it was a lifeline. Every step I took played the scene over and over in my mind. That girl's eyes, her father's calm, her mother's trembling hands as she tried to stay composed. I could still feel the heat of my coffee cup when I watched them get dismissed like they didn't matter. And the worst part, it wasn't rare. Not in the way she delivered it. Like it was just routine. I found myself at a diner off 170th and Grand Concourse. Nothing fancy metal stools, scratched tables, walls stained with years of steam and stories. I ordered coffee again. Stronger this time. No foam, no syrup, just bitter and black. The way I needed it. The waitress didn't recognize me. No one did. I was just another tired man in a city full of them. And maybe that's why I could think more clearly. No one expecting speeches or solutions. No one trying to protect my time. Just me and the weight of what I'd seen. It was around midnight when I opened my laptop and started writing the internal report. Subject line: incident at Bronx branch. Immediate action required. But as I typed, it stopped being a report. It became a confession, a reckoning, an open wound. We talk so much in our company about hospitality, about luxury, about experience. But what is luxury, really, if it doesn't start with dignity? I wrote, what happened tonight is not an isolated incident. It is a mirror. One that reflects the bias that's gone unchecked, the blind spots in our training, and the human cost of corporate silence. The young girl who was nearly denied a weekend of joy, she may never forget what our hotel told her about her place in the world. And that is unacceptable. I hit send, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like a corporate officer. I felt like a man doing the bare minimum of what should have been done long ago. By the time I got back to the hotel, the sun had just started scratching the sky with faint orange streaks. The city was stirring. Delivery trucks idled at red lights. Steam poured from manhole covers. Life, again, refused to pause. I took the side elevator up, skipping the lobby. When I reached the top floor, I knocked softly on the executive suite door. I wasn't sure if they'd be awake. I just needed to check. Marcus answered in sweats, his voice rough with sleep. Didn't mean to wake you. I said, no, it's fine. Come in. The suite smelled like pancakes and fresh coffee. Their daughter sat at the window again, legs crossed, her teddy bear propped up beside her. Both of them watching cartoons on mute. His wife appeared from the bedroom, smiling. We were going to send a thank you note, but it's better to say it in person. You don't have to thank me, I replied. You didn't have to stand up for us either, Marcus said. But you did. And our daughter saw that. He looked down for a second, then back up. Do you have kids? I shook my head. Not yet. He nodded. When you do, you'll understand what that moment meant. You didn't just save our night. You showed her that not everyone stays quiet. I didn't know what to say, so I said what I meant. She showed me too. That strength. The way she held onto that teddy bear but didn't cry until after it was over. She reminded me what kind of man I want to be. He smiled then. A real one. One that carried more than gratitude. It carried recognition. Brotherhood. Before I left, I gave them my direct number. If you ever need anything, I said, you call, doesn't matter what it is. They promised they would. And when I turned to leave, the little girl looked up from her cartoons and waved. Bye, Mr. Nice Man, she said. I waved back. Take care, brave girl. The elevator ride down felt different this time. Like gravity had softened. Like the building was holding its breath, waiting for what came next. And so was I. By noon, the storm had already begun. My email had been forwarded across departments, copied, screenshotted, turned into whispered conversations and then formal meetings. HR pinged me twice, asking if I wanted to lead the investigation personally. Legal reached out about protocol. PR drafted a statement before I even opened their message. But I ignored all of it for a moment and walked straight into the general manager's office on the ground floor. He stood up when he saw me, tall, well-groomed, suit crisp, eyes wary. Ethan, he said, I didn't know you were here yesterday. No one told me. Good, but I couldn't. I didn't want them to. He said slowly, I read your email. He started, I'm embarrassed this happened in my hotel. I didn't let him off that easy. You're not just embarrassed, you're responsible. She was under your supervision. You hired her, you trained her, and you missed it. He winced. This is the third complaint I've read in 6 months. I continued. All same pattern, black guests, false payment issues, different staff, but same vibe. He nodded, slowly. I didn't connect the dots. You didn't want to. I replied. There was a long pause. Then I asked the real question. What are you going to do about it? He took a deep breath. Mandatory anti-bias training. Not the online modules, the real stuff. In person. With case studies. Paid time. I'll also establish a direct anonymous line to me for any guest who feels mistreated. I raised an eyebrow. And the receptionist. Suspended. With a formal investigation. If the footage and statements match what you described, and I believe they will, she'll be terminated. I watched him for a second. Saw the genuine shame behind the words. The weight of leadership catching up to him. She's not the only one. I said, this is about more than her. It's about culture. He nodded again. I get that now. I hope you do, I replied. When I left his office, the staff downstairs gave me curious glances. They didn't know exactly who I was yet. Just that something had changed. You can always feel it in the air when justice brushes through a place like wind shaking loose old dust. I took the back hallway and passed a housekeeper on break, sitting on a stool and sipping iced coffee. She looked up at me. Was that you who stood up for that family yesterday? She asked quietly. I paused. You saw it. She nodded. Heard it all from the staff channel. People are talking. Good, I said. Let them talk. She gave a small smile. Not many bosses would have done what you did. I'm not a boss today. I told her. Just a man who saw something wrong and did something about it. She raised her cup slightly in salute. Well, thank you. Some of us needed to see that too. That stayed with me longer than anything the lawyers or execs would say. By the time I got back to my room, my phone had exploded interviews, questions, even a few reporters sniffing around about whether Something had happened at the Bronx location. I wasn't interested in spectacle. I didn't want this to be another headline with my name in bold and the real story lost in spin. I wanted policy change. I wanted reality shaken. I picked up the in room phone and called corporate, direct to the CEO's line. He answered after 3 rings. Ethan, you okay? I'm fine. I said, but our system isn't. He exhaled. I saw the report. It's bad. It's worse than bad. It's typical. And it shouldn't be. He didn't argue. I'm not asking. I said, we're launching an internal task force. I want full oversight of all guest complaints filed in the last 2 years. I want all flagged cases of payment issues by race, name, or accent. And I want them now. He hesitated. That's a lot. It's overdue. Silence. Then, all right, you've got it. I hung up. And then I opened my email again, composed a new message to the entire regional leadership team. Subject from bystander to barrier breaker. Yesterday I witnessed something I can't unsee. A child was taught she was less than. A father was forced to shield his family from humiliation. And all of it happened in the lobby of a building with our name on it. We talk about legacy. This is it. Right now. Not the buildings we raise, but the people we protect. We will not be a company that merely condemns racism. We will dismantle the structures that allow it to hide. Not in our lobbies and not in our silence. Ethan, I hit send. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like a leader again. That afternoon, I stayed behind the scenes. No spotlight. No press releases. I wandered the hotel like a ghost in plain sight, checking the elevators for accessibility signs, noting the faces of employees who greeted every guest with the same smile, and the ones who didn't. At the concierge desk, I watched a young couple, a black man and a white woman, approach for theater recommendations. The concierge beamed, pulled out a map, and circled options with genuine warmth. That shouldn't have felt remarkable, but it did. Because now, I noticed everything, and I wasn't the only one. By 4 Pitatsamibiriyubis too. I received a forwarded message from another general manager in Queens. He'd heard what happened, asked for the video, and had already begun an audit of his team. Another from Harlem replied all to my regional memo with, I've had 2 similar reports in the past year. I didn't act. I'm sorry. That stops now? It wasn't viral. It wasn't flashy. But something had started. A ripple. At 5:30 p.m. I stepped outside for air and spotted Marcus and his family again. They were just returning from Central Park. Their daughter wearing a foam Statue of Liberty crown, holding a pretzel almost as big as her head. They looked like any other tourists, exhausted, happy, sun-warmed. Marcus noticed me and waved. I waved back, and something in his eyes, soft, grateful, stuck with me. I hadn't saved them. They weren't helpless. They saved themselves. All I did was remove the wall someone tried to slam in their path. Back in my room, I found myself sitting in the dark, lights off, city skyline glowing in from the windows. I thought about my own father, how he'd worked 16-hour shifts at the docks, how he taught me never to speak unless I could back it up with action. He never finished high school, but he carried himself like a professor, taught me about dignity long before I could spell it. He'd be proud of me today. Not because I caught a racist receptionist in the act, but because I didn't look away. Around 7 p.m., I got the notification I'd been waiting for. The footage had been reviewed. The report from HR confirmed it, all reservation confirmed. Payment processed. No policy breach by the guests. And the receptionist terminated. It wasn't just about her anymore, but closure still mattered. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't enough. Not until every front desk in every city knew better, chose better, acted better. I pulled up the live security feed from the Bronx lobby. A new receptionist stood behind the desk. Young? Nervous? She greeted each guest with a smile, fumbled the computer once, laughed at herself, kept going. A woman walked in next, mid 40s, black, sharp red coat, designer bag. She approached the counter. The new receptionist looked her in the eyes, smiled, took her ID, gave her a key. No hesitation, no glance over the shoulder. I leaned back, something inside me exhaling for the first time all day. Progress. Small, quiet, but real. Later that night, as I lay in bed, I opened my social media app. A message was waiting sent by Marcus, from Marcus Tillman. Just wanted to say thank you again. Not just for what you did, but for how you did it. Maya told her grandma that the hotel man was a superhero. Thought you'd want to know. I stared at that message for a long time. Superhero. I wasn't. I was just a man who remembered where he came from. A man who refused to forget that power is a responsibility, not a crown. And in a world that so often looks away, I chose to see. The next morning, I packed my bag. I never stayed long at any one location when I went undercover. That was the point. Drop in quietly, observe, intervene if needed, and leave before my presence polluted the data. But this time felt different, heavier. Like leaving without anchoring, the change would mean it never happened at all. I zipped up my bag, paused, and walked once more to the window. The Bronx skyline was awake now. School buses honking, vendors setting up, mothers rushing their kids into early morning routines. Life had bounced back like it always did. But beneath the noise, I could still feel the echo of that moment in the lobby. I made one more stop before checking out. The training room, 2 floors down. The general manager had arranged an emergency staff meeting. Mandatory. No excuses. The receptionist's termination had sent shockwaves through the team. But they didn't know I'd be attending. I stood in the back of the room as the general manager began. Before we start the new training protocols, he said, clearing his throat, I want to introduce someone. Someone most of you didn't realize was here. He turned toward me. I stepped forward. Murmurs rippled through the group. Some eyes widened. Some avoided me entirely. Others just watched. Unreadable. My name is Ethan Moore. I began. I'm not here to scare you or to punish anyone else. But I need to talk to you, not as a director, but as a person. I looked around the room, waited until the silence was deep enough to hold every word I was about to say. Hospitality isn't just about fresh linens and marble lobbies. It's about humanity. It's about looking at someone who doesn't look like you and choosing to serve them with the same respect you'd want for your own family. I paused. Yesterday, a little girl walked into this hotel with her parents excited, smiling, holding a teddy bear. By the time they made it upstairs, she had seen more cruelty in 5 minutes than some of us face in 5 years. Some heads dropped. One woman near the front blinked fast, swallowing something hard. This can't happen again. Not on our watch, not in our house. I let the words sit. From this day forward, it isn't just your job to check IDs and swipe cards. It's your job to protect the dignity of every person who walks through that door. Black, white, brown, immigrant, native, poor. Rich doesn't matter. And if you're not ready for that, I added, then you're in the wrong business. Silence, stillness. And then, from the back, someone clapped. Just once. Then another joined. A ripple. A wave. It wasn't thunderous. It wasn't dramatic. But it was enough. Later, as I wheeled my suitcase through the lobby, I caught sight of a new desk clerk setting up for the day. Young, sharp suit, warm energy. He nodded at me as I passed. I nodded back. I didn't need to say anything. Neither did he. That was the quiet current of change, unspoken but real. Outside, the city moved around me. I flagged a cab, climbed in, and gave the driver a midtown address. He pulled into traffic, and for a while, I just stared out the window, the skyline passing like a movie reel. Then my phone buzzed. A new email, Subject Guest Experience Report. Tillman Family. Feedback. We didn't expect a miracle, we just wanted a room. But what we got was a moment that changed us. Highlighted comment from Maya Tillman. Age 6. This is the best hotel in the whole wide world because the man in the hoodie made it safe again. I read it twice. Then again. I didn't reply, didn't forward it, didn't save it to the cloud. I just smiled quietly, placed my phone face down on my knee, and watched the city blur by. Because sometimes the reward isn't recognition, sometimes it's a 6-year-old's belief that the world can be kind again. What happened in that lobby was more than a moment of discrimination, it was a revelation of how fragile dignity can be when left unprotected. It reminded me that silence, even from those with good intentions, is complicity. True leadership isn't about titles or suits, it's about using your voice when it matters most. Every person deserves to be seen, not just served. And in that child's eyes, I saw the cost of indifference and the power of intervention. If there's one lesson I carry forward, it's this: justice begins in the small, uncomfortable choices we make when no one's watching. Because doing the right thing once doesn't change the world, but it might change someone's world forever. Thank you for watching and being part of this powerful story. Your time and attention mean more than you know. If this moment moved you, if it made you feel something, or reminded you of the kind of world we should all be striving for, I invite you to be part of that change. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that matters. And most importantly, drop a comment below. Share your thoughts, your own experiences, or how this story made you feel. Your voice helps shape this community, and your feedback fuels the stories we choose to tell next. Let's keep building something real together. Real story? Stand against racism, social justice, emotional story, inspiring moments.